Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network. And it's been a while, but we are back discussing Apple TV Plus's The Studio. We apologize for the delay. There's been a lot of things we've been doing here at the network. Excited to share all that stuff with you in terms of interviews and festival coverage. So we'll get to that in the near future. But I am one of your hosts for this episode. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined by my co-host, Vinny Albano.
Hello, hello.
Excited to jump into this with you, Vinny. We have 3 episodes to discuss, starting with episode 6, the pediatric oncologist. Then we have episode 7, which is simply called casting, and episode 8, the Golden Globes. A lot to discuss with it, but we'll go in order. And again, this show is one that deals so heavy into the guise of an artist, the industry at large, society's perception of what it means to be an artist and the movie industry in general. And this first episode, the pediatric oncologist, it starts with, Matt's got a new girlfriend. Seth Rogen's character's got a new girlfriend, played by Rebecca Hall, who plays, as the title says, a pediatric oncologist. She is someone that deals in child cancer, as they quote throughout the episode. And it's a very funny look at the juxtaposition between the importance of different career paths and career choices. On one hand, you have Rebecca Hall's character of Sarah, who is bringing Matt to a charity gala for childhood cancer. And it's a lot of schmoozing and doctors talking about the important things that they have to deal with. Meanwhile, Rogen's character of Matt is trying to sell a diarrhea zombie movie starring Josh Hutcherson and Johnny Knoxville. That in and of itself is absurd. Just broad thoughts on the episode. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, this was a silly one. I think that I didn't enjoy it as much as everything else, but it's far from bad. I mean, every single episode of this series thus far has been a banger. And this episode is so stupid, and it's so funny because of that. We had the Kool Aid Man movie, which we returned back to in the next episode. But we had the Kool Aid Man movie as a ridiculous statement, and now we have the diarrhea zombie apocalypse film, which is so crazy and absurd. And it did make me laugh, so it did get me with even how stupid it is. I giggled, I laughed. I'm having a really fun time. What I liked about this episode too is the whole conversation on like the importance of being an artist, because as I feel like you could probably relate to this. I've had a lot of people say to me like, oh, but like a real job, right? Like what are you doing? But like what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna get like a real job, or like are you gonna do something like serious? Like people, they don't view some people don't view it seriously. And there's a good argument to be made, because in reality, yeah, like saving lives and whatnot. I'm not trying to get too deep on the studio podcast here, but saving lives is in my opinion, even as a filmmaker, like that's more important than a movie. But also, like, it kind of sucks dedicating all your time and effort and money into a career that like people are like, it's like whatever.
Yeah, well, I think the best part about this episode is how you can find the realism in what Matt is saying. Like when they talk about when people do go to the hospital, and it's like, oh well, like when they're sitting up at the hospital and they can't move, they need to be entertained, and there's a screen in every single hotel room or every single hospital room where they want to be able to watch something. They want to be able to click through the channels and find something that makes them feel a certain way. And besides that, you have that juxtaposing with my favorite scene of the episode, where is when they first enter the gala and they're having conflicting phone calls. So Rebecca Hall's on the phone and she's talking about, this is unfortunately, this is a trial, and like your daughter might not live through this. Like this is going to be something, if she wants to be a test subject to this trial, it could wind up saving her life, or it might not do anything. And then they keep cutting back, and he's like, we need to make sure that the diarrhea is exploding in a specific way so it shows up on the lens. And it's like the way just the absurdity in the cutting back and forth of those two conversations and both of them viewing it for the importance of their job and what they feel that they're doing every day is hilarious. Because at the same time, like you said, like I think anyone can admit, like it's more important to try to find these life-saving procedures and things like that. But there's also truth to a lot of the things that he's saying. Like I love how when we eventually get to the auction scene too, and he does it out of spite, obviously, outbidding her doctor friends for the golf trip to Ireland. But he's like, this is what we do with the arts. We fund your shit, and you guys figured things out, and that's great, and that's okay because we have the money to do that, and we're not complaining about it. Thank you for your service. And they're like so offended by the fact that he is doing so, and he's like, yeah. He goes, at the end of the day, we're doing it for charity, right? Like that's all that matters. And these people are like, no, like we're trying to do this to get away from these like depressing aspects of our jobs that we don't necessarily like. And he's like, yeah, I know, my job's pretty tough too. And it is to a sense and to a degree, but it's like it's not life or death with what Matt is doing. And so I love how they poke fun at it. There was one thing that I had a very deep feeling for in the opening of the episode, and I'm curious your thoughts. Again, you're a lot younger than I am, but we're both artists, we're both filmmakers, and we both love film and television, obviously, or wouldn't be doing this podcast. But the opening of the episode, when Matt comes out of the kitchen and he hands her her penis coffee, and he starts talking to her in what I wrote in my notes as movie. He talks to her in terms of movie, and she's asking about MK Ultra 4, and he's like, well, you got to watch MK Ultra 2, which actually in our timeline fits between 3 and 4. And then she talks about inviting him to the gala, and he goes, I know plenty of Dr. Talk. I've watched Patch Adams 12 times. And it's like how you sometimes lean yourself into talking in like movie quotes or talking in terms of like based in that. Did you feel any sense of like feeling seen in that? Because like for me, I'm like, all I do is talk in movie quotes like majority of the time.
Matter of fact, I didn't really look too deep into that scene. However, now that you bring it up, it is really charming because I do remember watching it and being like, that's me. Like that's me with Marvel. You know, like, oh, you gotta watch this, but you gotta watch this. And, you know, I have, like, sisters, and they don't watch... They like the Marvel films, but they're not caught up with it. And every single time they're like... A new film like that gets mentioned, and I go, oh, well, you gotta watch this and this and this. And they're like, right? So, there is a sense of relatability there, too, because that's exactly how we talk.
Well, it's also the part of like in a bigger example, I guess, later on in the episode when he's talking again just about his love. You could tell his passion is radiating for film, and he talks about Fight Club, and she goes, "Oh, I've heard of that one. I've never seen it though." And he's like, "You've never seen Fight Club?" And I'm like, that's how I feel with certain movies. Like, there was somebody I came across recently who hadn't they still haven't seen like The Departed. And I'm like, you haven't seen The Departed? It's been 20 years since The Departed came out. Have you not watched The Departed? But then there's tons of movies that I haven't seen, like Full Hand Up, full disclosure. Vinny might think this is crazy when I say it because I don't know if he knows this, but I said this off camera to Sean last week. I've never seen The Shining. And Sean was like, you've never seen The Shining? Like, he's like freaking out on me. And I'm like, yeah, like we have holes in our filmographies, obviously. But for him, it's like a culture shock because it's like his whole life. His whole upbringing has been through the eyes of cinema. And this woman couldn't really care less. You know what I mean? She just thinks he's this fun guy who gives her a different perception of life because she's never been surrounded by it, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I love about this show, too, is that it's effortlessly funny, but also effortlessly meta and deep. And you have like each episode like commenting on very serious themes, and I think that's why the comedy sticks so well, is because it's not like throwaway. Like it's always attached to something a lot more grounded, on topic, obviously, since we're talking about the episode. But I thought the episode was gonna end, it was gonna cut to him on the golf trip, but with like Ike Barinholtz's character and Sui Wonders' character and like his whole crew. I thought it was gonna end with that. I don't know, guys. Hire me.
I think it would have been good if they ended it on that, like if they fast forwarded like a few weeks later or whatever.
Yeah.
And Kathryn Hahn's character is like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, we have work to be doing. Like, we need to get casting on the Kool Aid movie. And he's like, I won this trip, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I did like the way that it ends because I love. Well, dude, when he breaks his finger, dislocates his finger, and falls on the table because of the shock.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's just so good, and it's so over the top. Again, like playing. I love how you put it, where it's like the comedy is so over the top, but they are dealing with issues that exist in reality, not only in the movie business, but conversations that exist with people in the world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it was a good episode. I agree. I think I said it coming in. I think the series is great. I think it was probably my least favorite episode because I do think that there were lulls in terms of the comedy. But I still think it was a fun episode, and I still think a lot of people would have fun with it. But the next episode might be my favorite since the premiere. I just love it so much. And again, it deals with the Kool Aid movie.
Yeah.
And we deal with the casting of the Kool Aid movie. And again, talk about meta. We have actors' names being thrown out left and right. And again, it's just like they're dragging people in the most lovable way because you could tell that these people care about them. Like I love how like Seth Rogen obviously is one of the producers of The Boys. He's one of the producers of Invincible. So like you see all of those characters and people kind of get brought in. Like I love how in the initial cast for Kool Aid, obviously Ice Cube that is Mr. Kool Aid Man. But they have Sandra Oh, who's like one of the main voice actresses in Invincible, and they're like, "Fuck her, we gotta get rid of her." I love how they do that. But what that episode deals with is the assumed racism of casting only one black person in the Kool Aid movie, and then it's racist that the only black person in the Kool Aid movie is Kool Aid, Mr. Kool Aid. And then we end up with a fully black cast or a mostly black cast, I should say, who they feel that this is the good way and this is the best way to do it. So we have things like that, but then we also deal with AI in animation. So Vinny, broad thoughts on this episode, the casting episode.
This episode was funny as hell because, I mean, for a variety of reasons. There's so many great moments. The moment when they're like fully arguing is so funny because like the shit that's being said is crazy, and even Seth like reminds the audience and reminds the characters in the scene like, all right guys, I think we're going a little insane here. It's great, and I think going back to the whole like meta talk, not even just including actors, but having like, you know, there's a big conversation in the zeitgeist that, you know, big Hollywood studios like this are quote unquote forcing diversity or having like, you know, forced representation. I've heard that term be coined online. So it is playing on that joke, and I don't think, you know, maybe I might not be like the right person to comment on this because I'm not like a person of color or anything, but I don't think it does it in an offensive way. Like it does it in a way that's funny for everyone, and it plays on it humorously and correctly.
Yeah, I think the social commentary within this episode is, again, it puts you in the room with some of these people that are actually having these conversations.
Yeah.
And they're like, again, they're trying to be so sensitive to every single demographic because they're like, at the end of the day, we just want to make money.
Yeah.
Like, we just want to make the most money possible, so we have to please everybody. And in the beginning, they're like, all right, so let's get representation from everybody. We have, excuse me, we have a black lead for Mr. Kool Aid. We have an Asian woman as his wife. We have a white cast for the live action cast. We have Hispanic writers. We have like all these things, and it just gets to a point where they're like overthinking and overanalyzing everything. And I love the scene that they get with Lil Rel Howery and Ziwe, where they're like, no, it's not racist, but like, is he married to a black woman? Because if he's not married to a black woman, then you're saying that black women aren't good enough for black men. And I love how they get to the point where he starts to talk about, he goes, no, I don't think you're understanding me. He goes, you're saying that the soul of Kool Aid is a black man. So he's black, Matt. Yeah. He is black. And it's just the whole way they play it. It's so great. It's so funny the way that they have all the different perspectives kind of come in between Ike Barinholtz's character, Kathryn Hahn's character, Sui Wonders, Seth Rogen. It's just, again, it's played for laughs in so many ways. And when you finally have that moment, which we've seen with Matt's character throughout the season, of him finally going to Ice Cube and addressing it directly, Ice Cube's like, what the fuck are you trying to do, man? Are you firing me? Like, is this? He's like, no. I'm not trying to lay off the only person. I'm not. No, you're Mr. Kool Aid, man. You're motherfucking Kool Aid. Yeah, it's just absurd. It's so crazy. The scene with the writers too was one that stood out to me because they're like, no, like, we felt comfortable writing this movie when there was like one black person in it, but now that there's like a whole, like, we can't write for black people. Like, we're not black. We need to highlight black voices, and then Nick Stoller's like, I'll just rewrite the whole thing. Yeah. It's so absurd. It's
very funny. And moving on to that AI talk, which again, I remember talking to you about this off camera, how relevant this show must have been shot within the same year, at least, maybe late 2024, because it's so relevant. It's crazy. Like the shit that they're talking about in the show is literally only months news that we've heard in only a month's few span, you know. And the AI talk is really interesting. I think it's very funny because with the whole everyone, they're getting up and they're like shaving him in front of, you know, as a whole mass audience. As a humorous joke, I did like it. And that's what it was. I was trying to regain my thoughts. Ice Cube looking at him and being like, I was okay with the other stuff, but AI, man, fuck you. And he like quit. That was funny. I think it's great. I think they are able to satirize everything in such a way, like you said, it's just so of the time, and they're able to. It's almost crazy how absurd it is because, again, the commentary of people that are watching the show that are within the industry are like, it's scary how accurate it is. Yeah. Like, it's so obvious that there are people in the industry that do think this way. That, and I think that the next episode, which we'll get to in a minute, is the biggest example of it, where you think about how people get excited to get dressed up and go to these things, and they say they don't care, but the reality is that they do care, and all the things like that. I think that it's like they also play into how powerful, like, again, public perception through social media is in this episode, and how that is more important than the creative choices that they're making for casting reasons. Like, they're initially like, this is we have this cast in place because we think they're all great actors, and they also fill these boxes. But again, it could be something looked at as like a forced representation thing, because they're not trying to ruffle any feathers, and then they literally confuse themselves and shame themselves so much in that overarching social pressure that they literally lose their minds over it, which I think is so funny. And yeah, like, think about like Matt's character. He's like an artist, art over everything, right? Like, oh, I'm an artist. At the end of the day, I'm an artist. But he also recognizes that he's a businessman, especially at this point, running the studio. And so when Nick Stoller's like, I don't mind doing what you want me to do, but it's going to cost $2 to $3 million a head for new animators. He's like, no, that's way too expensive. And he goes, just some background here and some eyebrows and some eyes, and that's how it starts. You know, and it's like we're getting to that point, obviously. But I just think I think this episode is one of the most well done in terms of, like, it's absurd, but it's real. Like, this is exactly what we're dealing with as consumers in media and in entertainment right now. And these are definitely the conversations that are probably happening in these rooms. You know what I mean? It's so crazy to me. Yeah, exactly. And I don't really have much else to comment on that episode. Do you want me to move on to? Yeah. Do you want to just start the conversation on episode 9, the Golden Globes? Yeah, I'll give my brief thoughts because out of this episode was personally my favorite out of the 3 that we're covering. This made me realize that, like it actually made me realize, not just kind of talking about it on the surface level, but the writing, the performances are genuinely so good in the show. Like, Seth Rogen plays Seth Rogen, but the fact that he's able to do what he's doing with the way they're shooting the film, the show, these long takes and interacting, I've never seen Seth Rogen be so use so much of his body, honestly, in a performance.
It's physical comedy.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that. And from the guest stars of the show and the writing, it's more than just joke after joke. They're actually building really good tension in every episode. It's so well paced to the minute, because I remember when I was watching this, I was just like looking at the time code every once in a while because I had to be somewhere after. Mm-hmm. So I was just making sure I wasn't too, I had the time.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh my God, like this is perfectly paced.
Uh-huh. And
apart from the comedy, which it's funny as hell in this episode, playing on, again, the Hollywood antics and these personalities and these egos that they have. And also the Sal the Sal joke, which is crazy and absurd. And I love when they play into the absurdity in the show, because that's the best part. But yeah, just finishing up my thought, this is genuinely good television. Yeah, I will stand on that.
It definitely is. I think it's one of the best comedies that I've seen in a while. And it's also, the biggest thing with that is that it's a straight comedy. Like, it deals with mature, dramatic, I don't know if you want to say dramatic, but it deals with real themes that are happening within the circumstances of the industry that they're commenting on. But it's 100% a straight comedy. Like, it's absurd.
Oh yeah.
There's no dramatization to any of it. Even like the way that they poke fun at, like, with the movie trailers, like satirizing the way that movie trailers are, the way that I still, my favorite fake movie trailer that they've done is an episode in terms of like dealing with the fake movies that they're creating is the one with Mackie and Ron Howard. Like, just the way that they treat it like it's like Chinatown. It's just, or that was Olivia Wilde's one, but again, like, same kind of thing. Like, they think they're like these like modern day noirs, and it's so funny to me. But with this episode, I agree. I think that so much is a credit to, you've talked about the way that they shoot the show, like the blocking for the show, dude. I can't even imagine.
Oh yeah.
Like, how precise they have to be. And it is a thing where they're probably moving so quickly. Like, I am curious, and I'll do the research for when we do the final 2 episodes. I'm so curious on how quickly they shot this show. You know what I mean? Because even this episode in particular, like, the guest stars that they have, they literally recreate the Golden Globes. Like, that's what they do in this episode, and they managed to shoot it in 30 minutes. Not only on top of all our main cast members, but Quinta Brunson's in this episode, Zoe Kravitz, Ted Sarandos, who's like obviously a busy guy running Netflix, and I love the jokes that they make at his expense too.
Rami Youssef,
who plays the host of the Golden Globes, essentially. Who else do they have? I mean, they have tons of people, and Adam Scott, and Adam Scott's the one that starts the joke, the Sal Saperstein joke, which is so great at the expense of Matt, and seeing how upset he is being at, he wanted this job for so long. He kind of rubs it in Sal's face that he has it. Sal's like doing coke behind the scenes just to make ends meet. And at the same time, like, he's so beloved by the stars. Like, he has friendships with Zac Efron. He has friendships with Zoe Kravitz. He let Adam Scott sleep on his couch before he got famous. So he is, though I do love, I'm a Seth Rogen fan. I enjoy the show in general. Ike Barinholtz, to me, is the unsung. And he has the sung hero of the show. Like, based on what I've seen this Emmy season, like, in terms of like supporting actor in a comedy, like, he would, like, again, like we talk about The Bear. Like, The Bear it's so different from the show because it's also not a comedy. Like, really, like, it is, but it's not. And like, Eben's gonna be up against Ike. Like, I would have to assume Ike is gonna get a nomination.
Yeah.
But I'm like, let's give Ike the statue. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, he is so good in this show. He's doing things with comedy that we haven't seen on TV in such a long time. And Evan's already won twice. So let's pass it on to Ike. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you because I even, I said before we started recording, I still think my favorite episode might be The War, which is all on the backs of Sui Wonders and Ike Barinholtz. So that episode alone proves how good of a talent he is. He's just funny as hell. Going back to the whole types of comedy, it's physical. He's witty with it. He's fast with it, and he has like a charisma to him. But he's also an asshole.
Yeah. A lovable asshole that everyone seems to love.
Yeah.
Which is great. Trying to think of standout moments in this episode. I mean, obviously the Sal Saperstein one, like you talked about, like just constantly shouting him out just for the purpose of keeping the joke running all night when Matt's mother is watching and he's embarrassed by the fact that his name might not be called. All the way down to the absolute narcissistic, chaotic moment where he runs backstage and he's like, "Hey, I'm just some guy they sent back here. They told me that like you really need to add Matt's name in the speech."
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, dude. Like, I could never imagine being in that position. What were some standout jokes for you in this episode?
I mean, the Zoe Kravitz stuff, obviously. I'm trying to think, particularly if I had like a big standout moment or not. Actually, not a joke. Well, it is a joke, but not like outwardly absurd funny. But something I did want to comment on is the scene when he meets up with that other producer or that other studio head. And he's like, "Oh yeah, us artists." And he's like, "Us artists."
You're talking about Ted Sarandos.
Yeah,
the guy who runs Netflix. Yeah.
So he meets up with Sarandos, and they're like, "We're not." He's not. Yeah, I'm like, "We're not an artist," and he's like, "Oh well, I consider myself an artist." Right. And he said that in the previous episodes of this series, and I was thinking about. There's a story from Hollywood. I wish I could remember the dude's name, but he was an executive guy. He was a studio head.
Yeah.
And, and this is a true story. There was one time where he was like, "You know what? Like, I think I could do this. Like, I make I'm saying yes and no to all these projects and they're working at the box office and like I'm an artist myself. I could direct a movie." And when he went to do it, he realized, oh shit, this is nothing like it. Because it's true, like executives and like studio heads are there because they're not their decisions, but they have good taste in a way. They know what works. They know what's good. They know what's bad. That's their job. Their job is because they're hired because of their taste. But, a lot of people online, obviously directors and whatnot, they're praised for their creative and artistic ability. But people forget how grueling film production can be. And all your favorite directors and artists wouldn't be there if they didn't have endurance and they didn't have like an actual like physical work ethic, like doing like dirty, gritty shit, and having the endurance to kind of put together a voice. And where I'm trying to go with this thought is I want by the end of this season or maybe next season for them to play into that story that I mentioned about an executive, Matt Remick. He's like, "You know what? I could do this. I've been a lifelong filmmaker," and it just goes terribly wrong.
So do you think that, because I've seen people speculate on this too, do you think that either by the end of the season or at some point next season, do we get Matt losing the studio head job and working more in the industry? Do you think that that's something that they can... I think I can see that happening. I still think we're like a couple seasons away from that, though.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I don't think he'll lose it, but I could see him being like, "Oh, let me see if I can do this," and like do a directing job and like use his studio influence to put himself into that position. And that's what I can see.
I think it would be funny if he did that, raise the money himself. And he tries to have conversations with people to try to get him on board.
Yeah.
To try to join the movie. And they're like, "No, Matt, but like, we'll see on the next one." No, man, but thank you. Like, trying to think of the name of the movie now. I forgot the name of the movie, the fake movie that they come up with at the end of this episode where Zoe Kravitz and David Krumholtz are talking to them when they sign on for it.
Blackwing.
What is it, Blackwing? Yeah, Blackwing. So it's like a certain situation where Matt's like, hey, Zoe, like, we loved working with you on Open. Like, seriously, like, we'd love to have you lead this. And she's like, no. Like, I'm sorry, Matt. Like, I can't do it. But read the script, love it. But I'll see you on Blackwing. And it's just like a whole episode of him going around town trying to secure people for his cast. And nobody wants to do his movie because they're like, well, we don't even like him as a studio head. Why would we trust him as a director?
Yeah.
Like, that would be a great episode. But there's so much that they can tackle within this world, which is why, like, I think I said this when we did one of our first episodes, me, you, and Mikey. They could do this show for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
They could totally just do this show for 10 years. This could run for like 12 seasons if they really wanted it to. It's really about if they're having fun doing it, are they showing up? They have the same writers. They get good enough guest stars. And I am curious again on like the turnaround on it, like how quickly they're filming things and where they go from there. But I mean, they're always going to be able to get guest stars. They're people that work in the industry and they have friends. You know what I mean? So I think that's the fun of it. But yeah, man, it's been fun. It's a really fun series. It's really funny. We got 2 episodes left, and I'm excited to see where we kind of end up.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed our review and discussion of episodes 6 through 8 of The Studio on Apple TV Plus. If you guys haven't checked out this show yet, we highly recommend it. Me, myself, Vinny, and Mikey, we've all been watching it. Zach as well hasn't covered any of the episodes, I don't think, with us yet. But he's really enjoyed the show as well. So if you are in the film industry or you're just a fan of film and television, you would be a huge fan of the show. So we recommend it. But give this video a like if you guys can. And if you have watched it, comment your thoughts on the episodes below. Let us know some of your favorite moments from them. And subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network if you guys can. We're not only covering The Studio right now. We also have reviews up week to week for The Last of Us on HBO. Mark and I are about to wrap up our coverage for Andor on Disney Plus. We have movie reviews up right now on Thunderbolts, on Sinners. We have Final Destination upcoming, Mission Impossible, smaller indie stuff. Like I said, we have interviews upcoming, festival coverage. So please keep your eyes out for that. Thank you for joining us. And you guys can follow us on social media if you guys want. All that stuff is below me, and it's also in our YouTube description. So check that out if you guys want to. Just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
And I'm Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.